What's up, guys? Welcome back with another Instinctive video. For today, I am joined with Tooch. Say what up, Tooch.
Howdy, howdy.
And guys, today we have a special Legends edition of our channel. We are going to be ranking all of the Legends festivals up until the 2024. It is officially January 1st, 2025. Happy New Year's to all of you guys. But the Legends Festival for 2024 is basically about over at this point. And so me and Tooch kind of had this idea that we will be ranking all of the Legends Festivals from 2020 all the way up to 2024. And I can say, Tooch, that some festivals are definitely better than other ones.
I think you're right on that, ABC, but I think we can automatically, just from the rip, just start off with Legends Fest 2024 being ungodly, and I'm just gonna leave that there, and we can we should be good from there.
So there's no bias, right? There's no hybrids bias to that take at all.
I will be as neutral as one Tooch can possibly be when it comes to the hybrid sands being involved in festivals on this list.
Well, it's okay for me as a Future fan. Future isn't really that good during festivals for some reason. Like, they're godly any other time, but festivals, it seems, which we'll talk about here as we're getting on. But guys, just a few things to know with like how we're doing these rankings. First off, we're going to talk about each festival, kind of like what they did, and we're basing the rankings off a couple of things. The first thing, obviously, was how good the characters were. Did they shift the meta? Did they make their teams better? And overall, like, were they enjoyable to use? The second thing that we'll be grading off these festivals were the events. Was the CC compensation worth it? Were the banners friendly? Were they not friendly? And then lastly, just like the overall feeling for the festival too from other people. And so whether you are a brand new player or you've been playing since 2018 like Tooch has, you know, there's a lot of good and bad with these festivals, and I'm just kind of excited right now too, just to kind of dive into a little bit of Dragon Ball history.
I'm with you. This is honestly going to be kind of nostalgic for me, so I'm actually really excited to at least go back the last couple of years when the game was first released and stuff like that, because that's when it was so good. I miss those days.
Well, we're literally approaching our 7th year anniversary for the game, which is crazy. And so there's been a lot of crazy things happening, but right now we're just going to go ahead and talk about what these festivals were with an honorable mention. And so, Tooch, why don't you go ahead and get us started?
All right. So, to first start off, the old good Dragon Ball Legends Festival, Dragon Ball Legends Festival, we have 2019, the release of Sparking SSJ for Goku, Vegeta, and Super Baby. Ignore the Zenkais; they're just on there now because later on they got them. But this is back when they first released. They didn't have the Zenkais as an option, especially on these characters. So when these guys first released, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I didn't summon too hard on their banner because they weren't that great. They were, at the time, they were solid, and especially this guy, Super Baby. He's he kind of did impact the meta. He impacted the meta a lot more than Super Saiyan 4, Goku, and Vegeta did. Super Baby 2, for those that weren't playing back there, you put him on the wonderful regen team, and this was back in the day where PvP, if the timer expired, it did not go off of who did more damage. This is back when if the timer went off, it was just a tie. That's it. No one got any points. nothing towards your ranking, 0. it was crazy. So obviously you couldn't kill his regen team. That was kind of the point. They made just a bunch of health on all the characters. Super Baby 2, Green Fat Boo before his Zenkai even. It was not fun. LF Piccolo, etc. So Super Baby 2 shifted the meta a lot at that point, and they made it so they had to change PvP, so that way when timer ran out, whoever did more damage ended up being the victor. I don't know exactly where I would rank this festival because it technically wasn't a festival yet. It wasn't labeled as such. There was no reveals and stuff. It was just normal releasing the videos on Twitter, and there weren't many events from what I can really recall. There was no hoi pois, CC compensation. I honestly don't really think there was anything out of the abnormal with them. The only thing that I would put them kind of high for this is because of how they impacted the meta in PvP, and they had to really shift and adjust accordingly to that. So I feel like that has to warrant some value. So for me personally, I think I would put these in S tier only because of that, but I'm gonna just leave it there for now. I might adjust it as we go through this the tier list in general.
Yeah, and guys, if you didn't know, I started playing Legends Festival, or I started playing Dragon Ball Legends around the 3rd year anniversary, and so I kind of missed out on a couple of years, but I have heard, obviously at this point, just how terrible the Region 1.0 meta was, and just how bad of an experience that was, especially back then, since, you know, timer matches didn't end up going to damage, it just went to draws. And so imagine having to waste like 5 to 10 minutes on a match basically, and you didn't get rewarded, you didn't get any RP from it, and you basically just wasted your time. So that definitely is interesting. So I can't really like give a valid input on this you know, quote unquote festival, and so but for me, I'd probably just have it in B tier, just because there's not really like a lot of input I can give on it, since it technically wasn't a festival. It's just more of an honorable mention at this point. But cool. Well, Tooch, what happened in the 2020, the first ever Legends Festival?
First ever Legends Festival 2020. This, I remember vividly sitting in my room watching this festival, watching UI Goku be announced with Jiren, Topo, Dispo. This banner had it all. I'm not gonna lie, this banner had it all. I think this was the first banner at the time too, and up to this point, where we got a banner with an LF unit on it, as well as multiple other sparkings. It wasn't just one other sparking, it wasn't even just 2 other sparkings, it was multiple sparkings, and they were all actually kind of solid. I don't have icons of Dispo, Jiren, Topo, etc. on here, just because that's a lot of space. I just have the headlining units, but at the time, Ultra Instinct Goku, he broke the game. Literally broke PvP. He didn't have a lot of health, of course, on release, but he did a lot of damage. His gauge was definitely new, and it was the first time ever in Legends history that they ever tried messing around with this. The first Ultra Instinct Goku to come into the game, and the banners, honestly, I'd put maybe top 3 in Legends Festival history, maybe top 5 on like the best banners to ever release, just because of the value that was on it. All the characters were good. Topo, I feel like, was probably second. I would put UI Goku first, then Topo, just because of his endurance, the fact he could lock you in. His ult hit hard, very, very tanky and bulky boy. And then I'd probably put Jiren below him. But it was almost like you couldn't miss with this banner. This Legends Fest, it just felt like everything was going right. Everything was going great for the first reveal actual reveal one, and they were off to a really hot start. And then along came SSJ Full Power Broly and the Gogeta Blue. And I remember watching this reveal and watching the 7 Deadly Sins reveal at the same time. And it was a great year. It was a fantastic year. Gogeta Blue, of course, everyone that played back then knew his green card was absolutely menacing. And it was a good discussion, I'd say, for the first month, where people were going back and forth between which one was better. It was Broly because he was super offensive, he could tank pretty well, or was it Gogeta? Kind of was a glass cannon, but hit like an absolute nuke, especially with his ultimate. I feel like, considering everything, the banners were alright. I would probably put this Legends Fest, I'm going to move this actually to S. I'm going to bump down the 2019 honorable mentions down to A, I think, at this point. And I'm going to move Legends Fest 2020 up into S. The hype was there. The banners were good. The units were not only just solid all around, you really couldn't miss with any of them. And there's a realistic discussion at the end of it for a solid couple of months who was better between the top 2 headlining units. That's what you want in your game. That is the ideal scenario where you put both of them in and people are back and forth, back and forth. It's not just one that's like, oh, he's clearly number 1. The other one's kind of so if you don't like him, obviously don't summon for him. Like, this was healthy for the game. And it really brought a lot of players in. I think, I could be wrong, probably am wrong, but I think this was the first time Legends got top grossing. It might have been the 2nd anniversary with BB.
First anniversry. With
Was
Super
the first
Vegito.
anniversary? Okay, I knew they were top 3. I didn't know if they did crack top 1. But regardless, I mean, they broke the servers. Maintenance had to come in for UI Goku. Then you follow up with these menaces of Gogeta Blue, Broly. Can't miss. I think it's overall a very, very strong Legends Fest.
Yeah, and obviously this was the very first technical Legends Fest, which if you're a Dokkan player, you could compare this to back then Dokkan introduced the worldwide download campaign. And so basically just a time at the end of the year where they highlighted a specific time span, and they allowed typically when we see Legends Festival now, we expect these types of characters. Like, this was 2020 was the first time that UI Goku was introduced to Legends. Broly was introduced to the Legends, and of course Gogeta Blue, which everyone was wanting for at that point. So like the iconic characters were great, the game-changing mechanics, and was this? No, this wasn't the introduction to Zenkais, right? They had Zenkais before this.
Yeah, they had Zenkais before this.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously they updated like the story mode. The animations back then, like these were the best of the best animation-wise, comparing them to other units and LFs. Kind of, you know, when you think about like all the good, there were definitely some negatives, like what Tooch was talking about. I think obviously, like the big thing was just the server issues, unfortunately. Like there were just so many people trying to play the game that it's kind of reminiscent of what the 60th anniversary was, where there was just so many people trying to play it that basically there was just so many like server issues, like games
Emergency
were constantly
maintenance.
laggy, like the games were crashing. Like it was a very frustrating event from what I understand. And also this was the first time for part 2 that they introduced 2 different LF banners. And so, you know, at this point, we're in 2024, we've had an introduction, you know, to 3-part banners. And so, and at this point, we're at 5 banners at Legends Fest, which is a lot. But back then, there wasn't double Z power. Back then, there wasn't 20% double rate banners. These were just 600 Z power LF banners. And as cool as the units were, man, it was really difficult to pull Gogeta and Broly and UI Goku. And that was a really big complaint back then. Like, there was a ton of people complaining about those rates. There was a ton of people that was just criticizing, like, just the grinding. They introduced, like, you know, the free tickets and stuff, which was great. But there was just, like, a ton of issues with that festival. And so for me, I'd probably have to put 2020 in S, you know? Like, obviously from a character hype perspective and from a meta changing perspective, they did a great job. Like, back then they weren't called Universe Reps. I think they were called like TOP or something, or Universal Survival Saga. And that team was really good. But GB had more left to be desired. Broly was a monster. And obviously, anytime we get a UI Goku, they're gonna have to, like, fix the game itself. But definitely better than the honorable mention. But I feel like the other festivals at this point could be a bit better, if I'm trying to remember right. So, which, I guess, at that point, I can kind of take over to talk about the Legends Fest 2021. And so
this was a great one. You can go ahead, ABC. I'm just gonna be back in 2 seconds, but you can go ahead and start.
Yeah. So, man, Legends Fest 2021. This is like the craziest Legends Festival if you are a player at that time. And the crazy thing was they had less banners back then than they do now, but just the content, the characters, the generosity, the rewards of it, was the meta shifts were just crazy. Because let me take you guys a bit back before 2021. Legends at that point got done with its 3rd year anniversary, and the game was kind of on a downhill spiral because at that point, Gohan Ball Legends existed to an extent to where they Zenkai'd the red Gohan literally a year prior, and he was basically better than every character except one, and that was another Gohan. At that point, the units after weren't as hype. You know, they had the full power Frieza, the Ape Vegeta, and then the purple Cell. And so Legends was in a pretty weird spot where people were hesitant about, like, the state of the game in 2021. But all of that changed when the festival hit, because right off the bat, did they, for the first time, have a Part 1 double banner where they first introduced the Sword of Hope Trunks, and then the craziest thing happened ever, which was just the introduction to a first ever tag mechanic unit in Goku and Vegeta that could change colors based off the typing of the unit that you swapped to, where Goku was purple and Vegeta had type advantage against characters that were yellow. And that reveal alone is still one of the top reveals ever in Legends history. You can literally look back at other content creators reacting to this and just how crazy they went for just this character alone. People call it the Shaft music, but when Blizzard starts playing, you can just get reminiscent of just this. That was the first cool thing. The second cool thing they did, which they never did again, was they introduced 30% sparking pull rates. Meaning, if you pulled a character one time that was a sparking unit, including the new units, you pulled that character basically 3 times. And so it was way easier to high star up those characters back then. And it wasn't just for the new ones, it was for the old sparkings also. And so you had these really high valued banners that had really great units, like Broly was on it, GB was on Goku and Vegeta's banner. For Trunks' banner, Rose was on it. Future Gohan was on it. The 1% sparking Rose and Zamasu was really good back then. And so overall, the Part 1 banners were just so unbelievably crazy good. Probably the best value banners, I would say, since we got the Daima Goku banner a few months ago. Like, that's how great these banners were. And the introduction to the meta shift, Future was a top tier team, Movies was a top tier team, God Key was a top tier team, and then of course, as we all know, Mono Purple was a top tier team also at that point. And that kind of just changed just the shift of Legends, going from, you know, Gohan Ball Legends to kind of a one-shot meta with the Tag Boys. To where, you know, the events were good, they introduced like non-stop raids, the CC was fair. This was also, Tooch, I don't know if you remember, this was also the introduction to Godly. They raised the RP from where you could only reach up to 50 all the way up to 70, and they actually rewarded you with a emblem next to your username if you actually stayed within the top 1,000 of the PvP season. And then as we moved over, you know, back then we didn't really have a part 2 and 3, we just had a part 2. And this part 2 was building up some momentum because there was this feeling that Legends was finally going to introduce the first ever summonable Ultra. We got these Ultras announced earlier prior that year, and there was just this feeling that something was coming, because when Omega was announced in October, it was kind of a feeling, Toshi basically said that this was going to be the last free-to-play Ultra. And so people just thought, you know, okay, well, maybe, you know, they're not going to make any more because they weren't selling well. And other people believed that they were going to become summonable. And boy, were they right, because capping off the 2021 festival was Ultra Super Gogeta, who completely changed the game. Basically took out any hybrids teams, just a kid above all kids at this point. You could run him on Movies, you could run him on your festival team with the Goku and Vegeta and Trunks, or you could run him with the most toxic team, I believe, back then, which was Holy Trinity. And so, the banner, the value was a little bit left more to be desired. Of course, Fusion Warrior 2, because they Zenkai'd the Purple Vegito, and Gogeta 4 got his plat, and so Fusions was pretty good. But Gogeta completely changed the game. You either had Gogeta on your team, or you lost. And so, for me, Tooch, I would say, just with all the information and just the memory alone of how hyped that festival was, you know, Legends Fest 2021 is still probably the best festival for me, and so I'd have to put it in Godly myself.
I'm gonna start with just putting this in Godly as well before I even start talking about it. Just, it's this, to me, no doubt, no question. Farm, just so good. Just so good. Guys, if you weren't a part of this, I also want to quickly mention, this was at a time before where leader slot wasn't a thing. So also going back to the other 2020 Legends Festival in 2019, leader slot was not yet a thing in Dragon Ball Legends, which means you had to go and take your full team. You couldn't just plug Super Gogeta on a regen team, you know, and have it all work out, you know, or vice versa. So I want to point that out really quickly too. But I remember I went live on Twitch with you and a couple other Dragon Ball Legends creators at that time, and we were absolutely just blown away from the reviews and stuff. We never, ever would have thought of a tag character beyond our dreams at that point. Like, we had things that we wanted to come into the game. Obviously, this was kind of one of them. But I think they just blew it out of the water with this. The reveals in general, the banners were awesome. Like you said, the fact you get 1800 Z power anytime you pull any sparking or higher unit, like, that was absolutely obscene. I still, to this day, don't understand who thought of that and went, yeah, that's fine, check it off. Okay, go ahead, you're good. Approval received. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know if he still works at Dragon Ball Legends. My guess is no, because we haven't seen anything remotely close to that since then.
Yeah,
but
right.
I want to thank that man. And
Absolutely.
I want to just, I wish they would do something like this. Obviously, this was extreme. If you were a brand new player at the game, if you were an experienced player at the game, if you've been playing for 5 months, a year, however, you could come into this banner, get the CC that they gave. If I'm not mistaken, I think they gave out a good amount of CC for that time frame as well. So
yeah,
it was like
20k, like it was like 25k or something.
Yeah.
It was really ridiculous because back then, like, the raids gave out 1000 CC per instead of like what they're doing now. It was just crazy.
Yeah, so you could literally come in as a brand new player, just day one, get this CC, do the easy CC from the story mode, whatever, summon on this banner, either banner, and just you were set. Like, you were set. You pulled 3 copies of one unit and 1 summon of any character. It was so easy to build a team, at least to go into PvP. Like ABC said, Hybrid Ball Legends, Gohan Ball Legends, however you wanted to say it, that kind of just went out the window a little bit once this festival kind of really started, and then obviously Super Gogeta, it just kicked it into high gear from there. It made the game healthier, it made the game more exciting, it made the game just so much fun. The reveals were amazing. I have nothing bad to really say. I don't think there were any server issues from what I can remember at the time, which was also amazing. Like, people were expecting, like, oh, yep, everyone's going to try and summon at the same time, so emergency maintenance is going to have to happen. Double LF banners first time, etc. But I don't recall. PvP was great. I had some of my best memories, YouTube videos created, TikToks made, came down to this festival all around. Ultra Super Gogeta being the first Ultra. I feel like it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like that's probably the only negative thing, if I had to think of something kind of negative, was the fact we got our first summonable Ultra and they're not free to play anymore. That's like the only thing I can really think of for a negative. But, I mean, even then, he's a fantastic unit, especially on a release. Either you had him or you didn't, kind of thing. But it still, overall, to me, was fun, even through that saga, the Ultra Super Gogeta saga. Especially, I think for me, too, for dealing with so many other, like, metas before that, it just kind of was a little numb to me. I did make a video saying I thought Ultras, depending on how they made them, they had to be careful because they could ruin the game and literally get the game shut down at some point in the relatively near future, like years down the road. But they've definitely done better with Ultras since then, I believe. I think being the first summonable Ultra, we kind of have to give him a little bit of a pass for how broken he was in the meta and everything, just because it's their first one. Like, you got to test the waters. They've been doing free-to-play ones, sure, but obviously a summonable one, you have to have it be the best unit in the game. If you're going to put him on a banner with basically dog crap for other units that are also on there, you want this Ultra. That's the main thing. You might have a few good LFs or Sparkings on there as well, but that's your main bread and butter. I can't put anything, I can't put it less than godly. It has to be godly for me. It's still, to this day, number one. Nothing has made me more excited since this reveals and stuff, and trust me, nothing has made me more excited than this reveals and stuff. Nothing has come close, so yeah. I gotta leave it godly.
Well, even like looking back though, you think about like the Ultra banner of Ultra Super Gogeta, and it's like, yeah, like, man, it's either you went one or two ways, and I remember this specifically. Like, I had amazing luck to where like he was like 14 stars for me and like 22k.
Yeah.
and like Tooch like tripled that, chasing like less copies than me. So Ultra Banners themselves, the format is terrible, and like they just get worse overall. But Gogeta's banner wasn't bad because you had units like Vegito on it and Gogeta, and so you could actually still make a team with that. But still, the fact that they were kind of sleazy, you know, you basically, this was an introduction to where you only had to pull a character 5 times, which is like, oh, that's amazing, because, you know, like we were saying before, literally to October of 2021, the rates were only 600 Z power, and to high star a character like that, you had to pull him at least 5 or 6 times for them to get to that 7-star mark. And so there was a problem for sure, and this definitely, since the introduction of 14 stars, helped it. Now obviously this was the last time that the triple the rates ever happened, but starting in January they did go to the double the rates with that Bardock banner, so you know, it's still a win. But yeah, they never went back to that, and so but yeah,
can't really blame them.
No, yeah.
And
for sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong too, I think also when Super Vegeta was revealed, or it might have been Goku and Trunks, Super Vegito also got his Zenkai during this reveal, right? Or was it next one?
He got announced at the end of part 1. So it was just a crazy time. Yeah.
Yeah. So just adding that in as well, you know?
Yeah. Like, he was a really anticipated Zenkai. But yeah, I mean, literally probably the best Legends Festival that we can both agree on at this point. But, and then, we had the 4th year anniversary, which was pretty controversial. And then, Tooch, what happened during the 2022 festival?
We got your favorite boys, the Tag SSJ4 Bros, the GT Tag. Finally getting some beautiful love. I'm not gonna lie, okay? Now, ABC, I'm gonna be neutral as much as I can with the Hybrid Sand boys on this tier list. I'm gonna need you to be neutral as much as possible with the GT boy on this list. But
if you guys didn't know, I have a pretty big disdain for Dragon Ball GT entirely, and I hate that it's ran through actual Dragon Ball Legends. And so, but anyways, you can keep going, Tooch.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of GT either, I will say that. However, I don't mind the SSJ4 characters in general, the concept and everything. I think they're alright. I think they're cool. That's pretty much it. I don't have like a, you know, a warm, fuzzy place in my heart when I think about them. But when these guys got released, I don't know. It just, for a Legends Festival, for me, the tag feature was cool. We needed more tag units at this point in the game. Obviously, the year prior, we got the first ever with the Blue Bros, which in my opinion, I think the Blue Bros are a lot more hype for that Dragon Ball Super Broly movie than any G4 units at all. I just don't, it didn't hit for me. It just did not hit for me. Just seeing them being revealed, it just felt like them with the purple Android 17, it just didn't feel like a Legends Festival really at that point. Like, they were cool, summoned for them, of course. They were fun. Overall, they were a pretty solid unit, so it's not like they're really terrible. It just didn't bring the hype for me. Coming off of an amazing last year's festival, they had a lot to try and either step it up or make it as even as possible, or close to it, as the prior Legends Fest. Part 1, SSJ4 Bros, just did not do it for me. Super Saiyan 2, Vegeta, and Trunks, I think... I'm looking at the other units really quickly right now on all the lists. For a Part 2 unit, this is probably the least hyped character, I think, to ever release for Legends Fest in general. Honorable mentions, not really. I mean, even counting those, it's just, these guys just, they weren't even that great. I remember getting them on release. I think I was watching Garesh's video or something, and then I watched some rankings videos a couple weeks after it came out, and people had them like just inside the top 10. So it's not even like they were like super OP. Again, the tag feature, of course, we love that. We need more characters again at this point, so great. That's got that going for them. And future units, they just didn't really help the team, if I remember correctly. I know ABC's more of the future main, so I'll let him kind of dive a little deeper into that, like team-wise specifically. But for me, like, I pulled them, I got 1 copy, 3 stars. I'm like, all right, I'm good. Like, I'm gonna save my CC for the final, because obviously last year we got Ultra Super Gogeta. There's a lot of anticipation and hope that it's gonna be Ultra Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta, which it ended up being, which is awesome. It just didn't hit. Part 1, part 2 both felt like they kind of both swung and missed for me. Part 3, obviously, Ultra Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta, super hype. Animations, by far, in my opinion, I think were top 3, top 2 in the game. So, great kit. He's running around causing mayhem, as Gogeta always does. He's the best dude in the game, of course, as he should be. Legends Fest Ultra has to be up there. It saved it for me. It did save this fest a little bit for me, but overall, part 1, part 2 didn't hit. Part 3 hit. I think I gotta put them. I'm gonna put them behind the honorable mentions. I think in A. I think I was a little more excited for the GT4 boys to come out for the first time, as well as Super Baby 2. Compared to the overall value that these banners came with, these featured units came with, besides Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I'm sorry, Ultra Blue Gogeta. I don't want to put them, just him alone, bumping up this whole entire Legends Festival in general. So I think as a whole, the festival's got to be behind. Ultra Gogeta, if I was doing an individual tier list, would be higher himself. But nothing really struck me. Coming from the last year for Legends Fest to this current year with that, I think they just swung and missed. They swung and missed. They fumbled. They overall just not great. Not really good.
Yeah, I mean, 2022 was definitely a frustrating time because it felt like they really whiffed on both of their major celebrations. Not because of the unit choices per se. I'll talk in a second about the festival of 2022, but the biggest issue of 2022 was just how they made units before festival so much better than the actual festival units. So when Tooch, you may remember the second introduction of the tag unit was the tag droids, and if you were playing back then at this point, the tag droids were basically better than all of the anniversary units, and for some reason, Legends decided to do that again in the October banner, where they basically reset the game through Beast Gohan. Totally surprised. Everyone thought Beast Gohan was coming out during Festival because they were saving him. And the After Ultra Broly came out, when that reveals and stuff happened, and the Beast Gohan got announced, and the kid got revealed, there was just no reason, in my opinion, that the Trunks and Vegeta banner should not have been the October banner. I still go to this day believing that the superhero banner was supposed to be part of Fest, and for some reason they just had to make it earlier, because there's no way with how Beast was that just wasn't a festival worthy kit. Right. And I believe that the GT Bros were supposed to be part 2, and I believe UGB was supposed to be there, capitalizing what the pattern was in 2023. But the issue was the Tag Bros, even the Tag 4s, even though they were green, Beast was better. Beast was better than Trunks and Vegeta. The issue, the thing was the festival banner format, like, they didn't have triple rates. That wasn't the biggest concern. There was a hope for it, obviously, because this was a year later, and at this point we've had 3 celebrations now, so we know that that's never going to happen again. But at that point, releasing only one banner, where the GT tag became really good, don't get me wrong, because Forku got his Zenkai, or Forku got his Plat and his Zenkai before festival, and the tag 4s in 17 was just a really good comp team, but they still weren't better than the superhero team. And only having one banner at that point, where people didn't really want to run the GT tag or the GT team, just made it more of a less desire to summon, where the year prior they had 2 banners. And then the next year they had 2 banners for part 1. For part 2, I think one of the most frustrating parts about 2022 was just how bad they made Future, despite the fact that they gave them a ton of buffs. Like, they gave them a new LF, they gave them a new sparking unit, Future Gohan got his Plat equipped back in October, and they gave Rose a Zenkai. But the tag was still lacking in that ability like GT had and what superhero / movies had, where the saddest thing about the Trunks and Vegeta release was the fact that the 1% sparking unit was better than Trunks and Vegeta. More people were just putting Zamasu on leader than they were actually running Trunks and Vegeta. Because Vegeta Clan wasn't that good. Hybrids at that point, you could say that it's pseudo melee hybrids back then, and Pan is still like a better option, and Future Gohan was a better option than Trunks and Vegeta was. And so already, part 1 and part 2 is just so lackluster that they nerfed the raid CC rewards from the previous year. Also, so you weren't getting as much CC. PvP really wasn't as active as the year prior to. And also, this was the first and last time that Legends ever decided to do a reveal type style for a unit off a YouTube and Twitter trailer. For a festival, literally the biggest event of the year, and they didn't even want to make reveals and stuff because they just know like how lackluster of content they actually had. And Red Zamasu got a Plat too at that point, but it just wasn't enough. But a trailer for a part 2 unit for your major celebration is just so uncalled for that literally it just kind of left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. Part 3, yeah, UGB introducing the first ever counter mechanic. You know, that was fun and that was great. Super hype. You know, the Ultra Ink arc looked amazing. But I think one of the biggest issues what they started doing with these Part 3 Ultras up until this year was they just made the Part 3 Ultras so dominant that it kind of just ruined the meta. And so, literally, the only team you ran into PvP at that point was sometimes GT still, and then it was either GT or movies. Movies with UGB, Pan, and Beast Gohan. And because UGB had this ability to nullify endurance on rushing, and revival units weren't as big back then, like, you could farm up a rush really fast through Pan and Beast, and then just rush with UGB. It was crazy. It was super dumb. I hated the meta. 2022, in my opinion, Tooch is still the worst Legends Festival, and so I agree. I'm putting it honestly right next at the very bottom for me as the worst Legends Festival, which is really sad, but it just did not do what it was supposed to do in terms of hype, in terms of character selections, in terms of meta changing. and in terms of just CC compensation and rewards. It didn't have any maintenance issues because no one was playing the festival because of how bad of a job they actually did. So, but yeah, 2022 for me definitely was not a favorable time, and so. But with that being said, we're down to our last two, and so at this point, we can kind of piggyback off each other for Legends Fest 2023, and so Legends Fest 2023 honestly was a interesting point of time in the game, because at this point, we just got done with the 5th year anniversary, where they introduced a ton of different mechanics. The counter mechanic, again with their UVB, the constant combos that UVB came up, the unnecessary buff they gave to Go Frieza, where they were just so dominant. And at that point too, they just released Ultra Janemba, and so the meta was kind of stale, and so they really needed to kick off Legends Festival pretty good. And I would have to say they did a really good job with part 1. For 2023, everybody and their mother knew, since it was basically the year of TOP, after Goku and Frieza dropped, there was only a few units left that they could possibly do, but the one unit that everyone knew that was coming was a potential tag Evo Vegeta and Kaioken Blue Goku. And so everyone knew that a unit like that would probably come at some point for Fest. And when we got the LF Jiren announcement, it was basically confirmed that that was probably going to be the unit. The Reps tag got announced earlier that year, and throughout the year, we just got a ton of Reps units. The 17 hit, Rev UI, Goku Frieza, and now Evokin. And so that was kind of the expected unit. The Golden Frieza looked really good. The animations were crazy on him. The animations on Evokin and Goku and Vegeta, they had some good moments, but comparing them to other LFs in 2021, you could still say that those animations were definitely better. But then the craziest thing happened, where we literally got our second Beast Gohan within a year. And it was a transforming Beast Gohan that was just super crazy, because no one was expecting there to be 2 banners, because this was the first time that Legends ever did a part 1 and a part 2 banner within a year. We thought they got rid of that format actually within 2 years, because the part 1 of 4th anniversary only had 1. So it was literally 2 years since we got 2 banners. And Beast Gohan was just this crazy choice that no one saw coming, but everyone was excited for. I feel like for the meta, Orange Piccolo got his Plat at that point, and Jiren got his Zenkai. The meta was pretty healthy. Janemba was heavily countered now because of Evokin, and even a drop combo transform Beast Gohan Blue could take out a Janemba since he was so squishy. And so part 1 overall was designed really well. Did you have anything to add about part 1, Tooch?
Not too much different from what you said. With me, I know, obviously, for anyone that does know me, Hybrid Saiyan, lover, team, Gohan, fanboy, whatever you want to say, of course. So obviously, seeing Ultimate Gohan come out in this banner, like ABC said, no one is expecting. Absolutely no one was expecting this at all. The fact that he came from Ultimate Gohan to transforming into Beast, the first transforming Beast Gohan that we have in the game, coming right after pretty much exactly a year later than the original Beast to come into the game. Better mechanics, better unit, of course, overall. Super exciting. He wasn't so broken that people, like, if you didn't have him, you lost in PvP. I don't know about the Goku and Vegeta, though. Like, to me, I feel like they would hit harder for me, and I would have been more excited for them if it wasn't such a universe survival saga year, as you said. We got the Android 17 to start the year, LF17, and then of course Goku and Frieza, which were all fantastic. But then just throughout the year, it just felt like, literally, to me, every other banner almost was just another universe rep character, and it just felt drawn out at that point. The character itself, the units themselves, are awesome. Glad they're in the game. I think these are pretty worthy for Part 1 units for Legends Fest. Certainly a lot better than the year before. So they're already off to a great start. Already off to a better start from there with these boys alone. Then you add in Transforming Gohan into Beast. I think that they overall very solid job. And as for Part 1 standards, again, comparing it to the year before, off to a much better start compared to the year prior. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, too, that I think people forget sometimes was Legends was in this really bad state to where they only had a few hype character choices left, to where it was pretty obvious what unit was actually coming. Like, people knew, for the 4th anniversary, let's say, that we were going to get MUI Goku. Like, he was obvious. People knew we were going to get an Ultra Super Vegito. He was obvious. People knew for Legends Fest 2022, we were probably going to get the Tag Bros. Like, that was the only relevant GT unit, minus another G4, which there were rumors and speculations that we could see a transforming G4, but all the way back then. But Legends, and then the 5th year anniversary, where everyone knew that Goku and Frieza were probably coming at that point. And so the fact that most people knew that Evo Vegeta and Kaioken Goku were coming kind of just made some of the hype go down, because like these were just predictable units, and Legends finally was able to give us a surprising reveal and stuff again, like they did so well in 2021 with the Tag Bros. And it wasn't like a new mechanic, but it was just a unit that no one expected, a hype unit at that point too. And so it just made the 2023 festival off to a good start. Which, going into part 2 now, they sort of got creative, you know. There was they were getting to this point where new mechanics were kind of needed, or new types of units were needed. And so for the first time ever, and only time at this point, we got a game originals character through Tag Bardock and Tag Goku. So far, he is the only unit, they're the only unit to ever come and grace the game for Legends Festival. And known as Barku, they were a pretty solid unit, I'd have to say. When they first came out, they were definitely viable as that top 3, top 4 option.
Oh, yeah.
They, were super annoying to fight against with their AoE green card, and just this new introduction to a mechanic that wasn't necessary endurance and wasn't necessary revival. It was invincibility, where basically this unit could lose his first health bar, and unless you just dropped combo on him or stopped attacking, they could not die ever. You could combo them for literally 200 timer counts, and if you did not drop the combo once, they would still be alive at the end, which was crazy back then, because this was a unit you could throw in basically as a Rising Rush, or a unit that could take an ultimate, or a unit that could, survive basically for what you needed it to do, for what you needed them to do back then. The major gripe about the Goku and Bardock wasn't the unit itself, it was more so just the banner format for Goku and Bardock, because the Game Originals banner was probably argued as one of the worst current banner formats of the post 2021 Legends Fest, since they introduced the Double Z power. And so, taking you guys back, there wasn't pity, or there was pity for the banner. They did not have tickets for the banner, they only had Z power on it, and they did not have guaranteed pulls, like guaranteed sparking units on it. It was basically, you had a chance to pull the unit at lesser rates, and then probably the most egregious of the banner format was the last step, giving you the ability to have 1800 Z power again, but you only got one unit from that pull. And so basically, a lot of times you would not even be able to pull, most of the time, the Goku and Bardock from that step up. Mm-hmm. And so the banner format's kind of what left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. And actually, Tooch, a ton of people skipped this unit because of just how bad that banner format was.
Myself included, for the most part.
Yeah.
So, yeah, nothing really desirable with this unit. I think the only thing that really had going for them, which was really cool, was the first Game Originals kind of tag unit character to come out, like you said. But banner was bad. Not having tickets are bad, even though I'm personally not a fan of the tickets because I get horrible luck with them. I've only ever pulled one of the feature unit that's on that banner, so I'm not the biggest ticket advocate, but still, not having them as an option is just, that's bad. That's really, really bad. They super annoying. I remember playing against them with the indestructible ability that they have. I don't know, that nothing really excited me with this character, just more frustration than happiness whenever I saw this character come in PvP, and I don't have anything else to say on that. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely were a good unit, don't get me wrong, and arguably they were probably better than Evokin at that point. But I think like their main issue really wasn't tied to their kit, it was just tied to how bad Legends fumbled the banner format, which, spoiler alert, we didn't get as we finishing the 2024 festival. We have not received a Game Originals character since then, even during the 6th anniversary. So,
yeah,
probably from poor sales, I'm guessing, which is more on the devs than the players. But at this point, it's just if they ever do bring them back, they do need to fix that banner format step up for sure. 100%. So, as we're finishing the 2023 festival, there was a lot of ideas of what could actually be coming as the Part 3 Ultra. There was speculation that they could cap it off with movies, with some type of Gogeta again, or they could throw a curveball, since they love to do fusion so much, and give us Ultra Gogeta 4 at that point. But unfortunately, I say this not for the unit itself, but because it got leaked literally 6 days early than it was supposed to come out. Ultra UI was the Part 3 unit that got showed, which really sucks, Tooch, that Ultra UI got leaked early, because the fact that you could have watched the reveals and stuff and saw the orchestra, and you could have heard the theme and got super pumped up because it was the UI theme of all, or the Universal Survival Saga theme, and you saw like the UI Goku in the background. Like, they did such a good job with that, reminiscent of like UVB's drone show. But the fact that it got leaked early kind of like ruined the moment, you could say. And so, but the choice was Ultra UI, which at that point was just a really good option in my opinion. It kind of, set the tone into the year of Universe Reps. UI was just he was a unit for sure. one of the coming in with a couple of crazy things, obviously, with this kit. The first thing was he had counters to melee-based strikes and blue cards. Another counter was he had a lock-in, where basically if you try to swap out between trying to swap out with another character on your team, you basically get locked in and he could attack you for 3 timer counts, including with an ultimate card that did a ton of damage. He had an auto dodge gauge, obviously, where you couldn't hit him with basic strike or blast cards, only blues or ultimates. If you rushed him or if you used an ultimate, basically you lost all of your key and you lost your vanish, which was crazy back then. And then the fact that if he was a last man standing unit too, he got another lock-in and ultimate. So basically, you could have up to 3 ultimates with this unit, which was crazy back then. Mm-hmm. Kind of the only issue I'd say, like talking about with UGB2, was just how boring the meta came with him. Because
Super
at least
slow.
at this point, Legends did a really good job of making the meta healthy. I mean, with Evokin, Beast, and Goku and Bardock, there was just so many teams running out there at that point. Where when UI showed up, it was basically Juice Beast Gohan with Pan and Orange Piccolo, or the most boring team of 2023 with UI, Paikon and Gogeta, and Barku. That was just one of the worst metas because you could just literally go to timer. Those teams never died. You would just flow back with UI the whole entire game until you could swap out into other units. And so that'd be my only complaint about UI Goku though, Tooch.
Yeah, I mean, hype unit, of course, again, for me, just feels like it didn't hit as hard just because, once again, it was the year of universal rep units, and it's like, all right, we got one for part 1 of this Legends Fest, great. We can kind of put this to bed maybe now, stop with it for, maybe a minute, and then part 3, just another one, which, I mean, to be fair, was kind of expected, and of course got leaked, which made its reveal not as exciting as it could have been. Unit itself, I don't know. I just am not a fan of the whole being patient when playing PvP. Like, I personally like to do a dynamic of both, obviously depending on the situation. But This just invited people to sit back, not touch their phone, and let Ultra Sign UI Goku play the game for you in some capacity. Especially with you sit there, you don't do anything, they try and hit you, you dodge it, you do some damage, and then you get them in combo, they try and switch out, unit's basically dead at that point. If you get stuck, it's just GG's at that point. Unless you're running Goku Bardock, but still, it just, I don't know, wasn't as hype as it could have been. Unit itself is obviously solid. Of course, he was one of the better units in the game at that point. But it just, again, comparing it to last festival, I think they did a better job. But personally for me, Ultra Blue Gogeta was a lot more hype. And overall, I thought brought a lot more healthy value to the game, especially PvP, compared to Ultra Sign UI Goku. Especially if you ran both the UIs at that point, the purple one and the yellow one together. It's just, you are super, super patient, super just being defensive. I don't know. It irks me. It makes me, honestly, I didn't really want to play the game too much at that point. And this actually is when I started, personally for me, to start playing the game less, making less content, and actually falling off of Legends at this point. The only thing that kind of kept me in it was the Ultimate Gohan, which I think, when looking at all 4 units for me, personally, he was the brightest spot of this whole Legends Festival, which, I mean, your part 1 unit, you really shouldn't be taking more credit than the Ultra. That's kind of like their big thing. That's your final thing before the next year. Then you gotta do it all over again. I don't know. It kind of irks me more the more that I'm kind of going back and thinking about it. And for actually ranking them, I'm actually going to bump up the Legends Fest with Ultra, Purple UI, Goku, Gogeta, Blue, and Broly. I'm going to bump them up to Z+. I'm going to put this in S. I think this Legends Festival 2023 was definitely better than the year before. No question about it. And they were more hype than, obviously, the GT boys and everything from 2019. But it didn't hit like that. It just didn't hit like that for me. Didn't hit home. It's like they had some bright spots, but it wasn't coming into full circle for me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, and yeah, it just, honestly, guys, like, I'm sure as you guys are making comments and stuff, you know, based off your own opinions, festivals go differently for people. One of the biggest ways is if you actually pull the unit or not. So it's like the Legends term, the unit's bad until I pull them. That's
Yep.
what you see a lot on Twitter and stuff. So
L anniversary till I pull them.
yeah, I'll say one of the redeeming qualities for Legends Fest that we haven't talked about yet for 2023 was just the amount of content that they did better on. They continued doing the LBRs, which was a good idea. Throughout festival, they had the non-stop raids again. So you had CC coming in different ways. And then last but not least, they had a ton of character buffs via Zenkais and plat equipments, and so they did a really good job introducing 11 Zenkais, like a ton. Like we had like 3 or 4 like Jiren, 8 Vegeta, Bardock, and then last but not least, kind of to cap off, they had Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta too. So they were trying their best to give old units exposure, which was really good. So for me, I'd say just from a personal experience, this was probably my favorite second festival of all time. So I'm going to put them personally in the Z+ area myself. Just because I felt like I said, they did a really good job with part 1. The part 2 banner format could have been desired, but I loved the Barku unit itself. And then last but not least, the UI Goku was just a really good option for part 3, I felt like. And so, yeah, well, we're down to our last festival, which is 2024. And Tooch, there's a lot of controversy with this festival so far, man.
Yeah, there is indeed. And I should have both my tier list as well as ABC's tier list on the screen right now for you both to see and kind of going through this video. I'm not sure about you, ABC. It sounds like you have one spot open. It might be the A spot. Mine is the B spot open right now. And I don't think it can be put in B, but it's definitely a mixture of good and bad in probably the highest degree that I can think of right now compared to every other Legends Festival. I feel like every other Legends Festival was either really bad or really good and kind of hovering around it. I feel like this one's kind of dead center in the middle, and depending who you ask, it could either range towards bad side of it a little bit more or the good side of it more. For me personally, before I let you go and talk about this, this year 2024, I played Legends the least amount ever from when this game actually released. I played it a decent amount when SSJ2 Ultra Gohan came out, of course. The anniversary came out until SSJ4 Gogeta was released, and then after Gogeta released, I did not touch this game until this Legends Fest actually started happening. I didn't summon for Goku or Vegeta though. I did actually do one rotation on Vegeta, but that's it. Nothing like crazy. I didn't summon for SSJ2 into SSJ3 Goku. I did do, I think, 2 rotations on Daima for a video, that you can check out on the channel here. And then we're not going to talk about the last guy just yet. But I don't know. I think the transforming from Vegito into VB, it's not... Can we please just be done with this character? I'm sorry. Can we please, just for right now, unless you make an Ultra LF or an Ultra transforming unit, please, Legends, stay away from Vegito into Vegito Blue, VB, please. We have enough Vegitos in the game right now. Please focus more on game original, brand new characters. Go out, try and get the hero characters into Legends somehow, some way. Stay away from this unit. I'm just tired of seeing Vegitos in general. They're not that hyped to me anymore. We are now 5 years since release. We don't need another Vegito. I'm tired of him. I'm sick of him. The unit's good. I think looking at tier lists and hearing from what ABC, Dummy, all these other creators are also using him, he's probably top 3, if not top 5, which is great, of course. But Goku Black into Rose, he's bad. He's bad. He's absolutely bad. From what I've heard, what I've seen, terrible part 1, honestly, for me personally. Not hype, nothing there. One unit's good, other one's hot garbage, basically. I don't understand what they're doing here with that. Part 2, SSJ2 and SSJ3 Goku. For me, I've been waiting for a good SSJ2 Goku to come into the game because all we've gotten up to this point was free-to-play SSJ2 Gokus, or the stupid yellow one that released so long ago. That wasn't even good on release. So we finally got that into an SSJ3. He's alright from what I've seen. Solid character. Daima Goku. I personally was not thinking he would be Legends Fest worthy. I did kind of crap on them for making the decision to put him on the Legends Festival. I understand they want to capitalize with the episode that SSJ Goku was first introduced, as well as the Tamagami number 3. He's growing on me. He's growing on me, and I want to apologize for that as well, because it's crazy how, thinking about it, how he in this banner, Daima, actually is kind of, from an outsider, more so perspective, again with me, is kind of saving this Legends Fest right now. I think part 2 overall was more hype with the characters themselves. The kits were better with both of them than both the part 1 unit banners. Just overall, much more of a wow reveal. Like, you were more shocked, I think, seeing these two, at least from my point of view again, compared to seeing the part 1 with Vegito and Goku Black. So we're kind of trending now a little bit in the better direction. And then Ultra Beast Gohan, which I will say ABC did fair warn me about in October. He said that there's a good chance it's going to be him or it's going to be an MUI for an Ultra, most likely. So shout out to him, because I was able to grind some CC just in case that did happen at that point. And I love him. I think he's great. I think he's fun. I think he's arguably best in the game. Top 1, if not top 2. Him and Vegito can kind of go back and forth on which one's the better character for this Legends Festival in general. But I have a lot of fun using him. He is the only reason why I'm kind of playing this game right now as well. Running him on a hybrid Saiyan team, just being able to run a full Beast Gohan team is also extremely fun, even though the blue one isn't that great anymore. He's still alright. He's still alright. He can still do some damage. And the red one's also just alright. But I don't know where to rank this. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like for me, they started off kind of bad and low. Then they kind of curved up a little bit towards part 2. And then part 3 for me, I love Beast Gohan. Genuine hype. And overall kit wise, and I've seen this from a lot of actually different creators on like Twitter and everything, this is one of the first Ultras that it's like, this is how Ultra characters should be built. He's great to use. He's an awesome character. And he's not completely overpowered. This is like a perfect balanced sweet spot for an Ultra character that we have up to this point. And he's just not obscenely broken. And it's not another case of Gohan Ball Legends. It's just like, oh, he's awesome. he's great. He's not gonna, it's not like if you don't have him, you lose kind of situation, even though he does have some kind of dumb mechanics with him. But it's nothing too overpowering, and it just, it's just like a chef's kiss that they hit it right on the head with it. I think they nailed it personally with him. So it kind of wraps up this festival as not a win, but not as bad, I feel like, as some people were thinking. I think I'm honestly going to move down Legends Fest 2022 with the G4 bros, Trunks and Vegeta, Gogeta Blue down to B as an overall anniversary. And I'm going to move this 2024 Legends Fest up into A before the 2019 LF GT banner. I think Daima, Goku more so, and Ultra Beast Gohan saved this anniversary to, Legends Fest to some extent, that it's not hot garbage. I think there's some saving qualities with it, but still not one of the better Legends Fests that we have seen.
Yeah, definitely well said. I trying to pick apart just a couple of those things, not with what you said, but just adding in to, just my feelings overall. Part one definitely was just, part one felt a bit lazy, in my opinion. It felt like, man, Legends went from this really great 6th year anniversary, if you guys remember, where Legends probably had a 2021 type reveal unit when they introduced the synchro gauge mechanics finally for fusing units to be able to fuse into the fusing character. So you started off with 2 characters, say Goku and Vegeta, and after some time they could build up the synchro gauge that allowed them to fuse into Vegito, which was really cool. Like, that was awesome. Shin looked really good, and then boom, the freaking, it's always Blizzard, but the Blizzard theme, the Shaft music came on, and Gogeta Blue came out, and it was just such a cool moment where it's like, man, they really hit the hammer on the nail with most of the anniversary minus part 2, but they did just such a great job with just that momentum, where you were expecting a lot of big things for Festival. And a transforming VB and a transforming Rose were just not the expectations that most people had. Which, don't get me wrong, like, it's okay that people were not expecting these units. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Where the character selection's wrong, it could be debatable. My issue, personally, with the character selections is just how underwhelming they felt in a lot of moments. Obviously not VB. VB was probably argued as, the #1 unit versus, being like top 2 maybe. But the issue with like part 1 for me was just how underwhelming Rose was specifically. If you guys didn't know, or if you don't really play the game and you don't play PvP a lot, Future wasn't touched for about 18 months at that point. The last Future character we got, minus the Zamasu the Zamasu Zenkai during Anniversary, was the Purple Cell from July of 2023. So Legends went a whole entire year and a half, basically, without giving us a single Future buff realistically. And so a lot of people were wanting some type of Future unit via Merge Zamasu or, Synchro Gauge Vegito. Either of those 2 options would have been fine. And like I said, Vegito's fine. But Rose is so underwhelming. I could probably talk for like 25 minutes about what's wrong with this unit, but we're already so deep into this video that I'll just say that the way that they designed him was really poorly. And he is terrible in his base form. he's not a very good disrupt unit. He can't tank, and that's fine. But his issue was he was built to be a defensive disruptive tank unit, and he does that job poorly. And so the future tag was heavily missed. It's not a very good tag right now. You could argue you could throw Trunks on there, but the issue with Trunks is you have 2 of your top 5 meta units right now are literally green. And so you're not trying to run Trunks in this meta. Trunks' plat is really good. The purple Vegeta Zenkai is really good. But when you have other units and teams like Majin Buu Saga and Fusions and Movies all have these other better synchro gauged up units where they just worked hand in hand together, this was a bit of a disappointment. And part 1 was just not acceptable to be a part 1 release. The reveals felt kind of lazy. Because it was just back-to-back reveals. There was like nothing special about them. The sparking units were just okay. Like Mai was pretty good, but compared to overall to units in the past like Evil Boo and other units, she was just okay. And it left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, to where part 2 kind of just ruined the festival for a ton of people. Daima, you can make this argument if you want. People weren't on board with Daima because it looked like, and it was confirmed that Daima was going to be part of the festival. We've gotten a few Daima tag units at this point because the anime is still being ran, and so people felt like it was too early. So there was just a lot of hesitation for Daima to be the main headlining part 2 unit without there being some type of character coming, in which there was, but unfortunately that other character was Super Saiyan 3 Goku, which by itself is really good. However, the fact that Majin Buu Saga was his tag, and that tag was getting more buffed than the supposedly Year of GT tag, was just kind of annoyed by a lot of people. And honestly, after Super Saiyan 3 Goku came out, it just straight up ruined the meta for basically till part 3. Because there's this really terrible team called Yellow Green Green that had Ultra Majin Vegeta, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and Vegito Blue. And I'm sure some of you guys know about this team if you're playing PvP, but for those that don't know, VB is able to nullify all counter mechanics. So once his gauge is built up, he's able to just bypass that. Super Saiyan 3 Goku is able to bypass card upgrade and debuffing, and so he doesn't lose cards. And UMV just draws cards consistently, and he draws a new hand on green cards. So if you know where I'm going, this team is able to combo you 99 plus times, to where basically a whole entire 80 or 90 timer counts can happen, and by the end of it, you either have a dead unit or you lost the game to timer because of just how much damage that was happening during those combos. Daima Goku is great. Tamagami number 3 is great. Overall, they did a really good job with those 2 units. And then for part 3, I'll agree with Tooch on Beast Gohan that he's, as what people were fearing wasn't true. We call it Gohan Ball Legends because Toshi has this weird glaze for Gohan units, to where literally we got an Ultra Gohan earlier this year that was number 1 or top 2 in the game, and we had an Ultimate Gohan in Anniversary that was top 1 in the game. They don't hold back on Gohan units, making them bizarrely broken for some reason. So, based off reading the kit, it was the end of the world for Legends players because he just sounded really good. But surprisingly, yeah, like Gohan wasn't just this overly powered unit. He hits hard, and his special beam cannon is a cheat code. But, you know, he is beatable. He's really squishy. And I think he did a great job at suppressing VB. He does a great job at suppressing Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and he's an ultimate equalizer for Ultra Majin Vegeta. And so he's a really great release. Obviously, the banner format, all the banner units are basically terrible, one of the worst Ultra banners, but overall he is like a really solid unit. I'd say like, yeah, like I'm kind of in this in-between spot too, where, you know, I'd say part 3 has helped it, and the Daima tag is really fun to use. The last complaint that I would have for this celebration Tooch is just the lack of content that Legends has done overall. Not only just for events and stuff, but also just like the character buffing. Like, we only had basically 3 Zenkais this whole entire celebration. And when you compare it to other campaigns, like the Movie Saga campaign that had over 5 Zenkais, and you look at the LBR options, where this celebration had 1 LBR, and the Movies campaign back in September had 3 different LBRs, which with more abilities to get CC, and they basically just made one that had all of the tags from the past banners on that one. It felt kind of shady, because that's less CC people are getting, less resources they can get, and less ability to be able to run those specific tags in LBR. And last but not least, just the way that they completely botched some of their good events from the past, like Hoi Poi. Like, the fact that the Hoi Poi system was 10 times worse than the Movie Saga campaign, because back then in the Movie Saga, if you had the battle bonus characters, you could get 9,000 Hoi Pois for using 1,000 energy. And it doesn't matter if you have the new characters or not. For the festival, for the biggest event of Dragon Ball Legends all year round, for the biggest event, it doesn't matter if you had the premium characters or not. It was 1 Hoi Poi for 1 energy. And it's like, that's just less desirable. So, no new mechanics, terrible events, boring metas. It's just not a terrible festival, but it's not a good one either. And so, for me, I would, in the 3 or the 4 Legends festivals that I'd have it, I'd still say it's definitely better than 2022, but I would probably just have it in that Z tier for me. I know like our letters are a little bit off, Tooch, but it's just that middle for me. So I feel like Legends could have definitely have done more. It's $1 billion company, and there's no reason for them not to do more at this point. And so I just hope, and for what we've seen so far with the announcements for anniversary and stuff, that they are gearing up for something special then at that point.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't agree more. I'm hoping that 2026 will kind of be a redeeming factor for Legends. Hopefully both Anniversary and Legends Fest goes very well. I think at this stage in the game, depending what comes out for Daima, of course, they're kind of at a spot now where it's like, all right, there's so much of these characters in the game right now. I feel like they have to start trending more towards game original characters, which I hope they do, honestly, and just get Legends back into being how it kind of once was back in 2021, where you have these new mechanics also in there. Like tag is obviously a thing. Tag units, you got the synchro gauge now, which they did not touch at all, like you pointed out for this Legends Fest, which to me is a huge L. That's a massive L. You introduced something so dope in the anniversary literally 5 months ago. Like, come on, Legends.
Yeah,
do better.
Your reason, right?
Yeah, so I don't know, hoping it's better. Kind of, I guess we'll see where it goes. And Just can't wait for the next Gohan character to come out. That'll break the game. And revive Han Zenkai, baby. Let's go. 2026 is the year.
It's his year. It's GB's year next year too, guys.
Can't wait for our Ultra SSJ4 Gogeta Blue to come out as a game original character. Yep.
Well, that's just the other thing too about this celebration as we're wrapping up is like just the choices too were a bit confusing. Like the green trunks that didn't even Zenkai buff future buffed hybrids, and so it's just there was just so many bad choices that Legends made during this campaign. Like obviously, I'm sure you guys have your gripes too. Let us know in the comments section of what you didn't like about, you know, the festival and stuff. But for me, man, it's just, yeah. What's frustrating is they know how to make things good, and they just refuse. Like, it's honestly, the movie's campaign, in a lot of moments, was probably better than the festival. And that's crazy to say.
Yeah. Yep. I honestly don't think I could agree more, ABC. And yeah, guys, if you think either one of our rankings should be different, if you think a different Legends Fest should be above or below another one, a different spot, definitely let us know down in the comments, like ABC said. And also let us know which, I know our tier lists we got some similar spots, but they're a little bit different. Let us know overall what you would like to see for the next Legends Fest or any celebration in the future. I'm sure there's some characters that we want that we don't even know that you guys have like kind of made up in your head. So whether it's game original content or just anything in between that's already come out in Dragon Ball history, definitely feel free to let us know. And yeah, with that being said, ABC, any last words?
No, none over here. Thanks for having me today. And yeah, let's hope that 2025 is definitely a better year for Dragon Ball Legends.
Yes, sir. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye!
See you guys.